Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking what is literally the ultimate balancing act happening in schools every single day. If you're the one steering the ship at your school, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's that incredibly complex, sometimes a bit overwhelming, but genuinely rewarding role of being the school head. So we're going to break down the absolute core essentials of what it takes to really thrive in this position. We've got a super structured, visual approach lined up so you can take these insights straight back to your campus. Let's get into it.
All right, to make sure we're working with the most rigorous and applicable standards out there, we're grounding our entire analysis today in the official framework from the Department of Education's School Heads Development Program. Specifically, we're looking at their foundation course. This isn't just high-level theory, you know? This is the actual blueprint designed to cultivate top-tier educational professionals.
So let me start off by asking you a really direct question, and it's one that usually sparks a ton of debate. Are you a leader or are you a manager? We hear these two terms thrown around constantly. Sometimes people use them interchangeably, and other times they treat them like complete opposites. But the real question you have to ask yourself is this. As a school head, can you realistically afford to be only one? Just think about your day-to-day tasks for a second.
Well, the answer is brilliantly illustrated if we look at this role like a giant puzzle. In the foundation course framework, leadership and management, they aren't opposing forces. They're not enemies fighting for your calendar space. Instead, they're interlocking pieces of a complete professional identity. You actually need the bright visionary colors of leadership to lock perfectly into those structural, grounding pieces of management just to make the whole thing hold together. So let's break down exactly what that means, starting with the first piece of our puzzle.
Section 1. Defining true leadership. If we strip away all the corporate buzzwords and just look at the heart of what a leader is, take a look at the icon the course developers chose here. It's a fire. I love this because it immediately brings to mind warmth, energy, illumination, and motivation. Leadership isn't this cold, mechanical thing. It actually requires a spark. It's all about the human element. It's that specific energy you bring into a room that makes other people say, yeah, I want to stand up and do this.
And that brings us to the core definition from the source material. I mean, there are thousands of books on this topic, but the framework boils leadership down to this single, incredibly powerful phrase: inspiring people to move toward a shared vision. The absolutely crucial point here is to focus on two distinct words: people and shared vision. True leadership is inherently about human beings and exactly where you're taking them. It's not about pushing paperwork, it's about the destination and the inspiration it takes to get your whole team there together.
Section 2. The mechanics of management.
But hey, a vision without a plan is just a dream, right? If leadership is the fire, then management is the engine. And this is where we completely shift gears from the visionary stuff to the highly pragmatic. The framework clearly defines management as three core actions: planning, organizing, and controlling. But what are you actually applying those actions to? Activities and resources. And why are you doing it? To achieve objectives. Notice the complete shift in our vocabulary here? We've moved from inspiring people to controlling resources, and from a shared vision to concrete objectives. It's systematic, it's highly measurable, and it is absolutely essential for your school to actually function.
Let's lock this distinction in by looking at them right next to each other. Over on the left, leadership is all about your people and your vision. On the right, management is about your activities, your resources, and your objectives. You literally can't reach your big vision if you don't manage your resources to hit your daily objectives. And flip that around, managing your resources perfectly means absolutely nothing if your people aren't inspired by a vision of why those activities even matter in the first place. They're partners.
Section 3. Test your knowledge, the application.
Okay, you've got the definitions down. Now we're going to play a little game. I'm going to throw a few real-world scenarios at you straight from the foundation course, and I want you to actively guess in your head whether each one is an act of leadership or management. Ready? Here is scenario 1. A school head calls for the submission of the school improvement plan for the upcoming school years and sets a strict deadline of 30 January. Think about those key words we just talked about. Is this leadership or management?
If you guessed management, you nailed it. Why? Because this scenario is strictly dealing with deadlines, planning, and organizing activities. You are controlling a process to meet a very specific compliance objective. It's pure mechanics.
All right, let's try scenario 2. The school head calls for a meeting to plan the school budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Run this one through the filters we just established. What do you think?
Once again, this is management. A budget is basically the ultimate resource, right? Planning and controlling the financial resources of the school falls perfectly under our strict definition of management. You're organizing assets to achieve institutional objectives.
Okay, let's step it up and make it a bit trickier. Scenario 3. The school head sends a newly hired teacher to attend the teacher induction program, the TIP. Think really carefully about what is actually happening behind the scenes here.
Tricked you a little bit. This one is a brilliant illustration of a leadership and management blend. Think about it. On one hand, you are organizing a training activity and managing human resources. So yeah, that's management. But on the other hand, inducting a new educator is really about integrating them into your school's culture. You're inspiring them and aligning them with your shared vision for student success. And that is classic leadership. You are literally doing both at the exact same time.
Let's look at one final scenario. The school head identifies the least mastered skills among the student body and organizes a team of educators to conduct an intervention program. Which one is this?
So, while there is definitely some organizing involved here, the core driver of this action is leadership. You are identifying a gap in your shared vision of student excellence, and you are inspiring and mobilizing a whole team of people to tackle it together. You are moving your people toward that higher vision of academic success. And that brings us right back to our puzzle. As those scenarios just proved, a really effective school head doesn't just awkwardly switch hats back and forth. They integrate these skills seamlessly. You manage the schedule so that you actually have the time to lead the teachers. You lead the vision so you know exactly how you need to manage the budget. Together, they form the complete picture of your daily professional life.
Section 4. Ethics and Professional Standards.
Now, mastering these skills is really only half the journey. The big question is, how do we ensure these powers of leadership and management are being wielded correctly? Well, the overarching framework demands that these practical skills be grounded in three main things. First up, human ethics for public servants. Your management and leadership must always be ethical and serve the public good. Second, emotional intelligence. Remember that fire of leadership? You simply cannot inspire people if you don't have high emotional intelligence. And third, all of these competencies must be continually assessed against the PPSSH. That's the Philippine Professional Standards for school heads. This right here is your ultimate rubric for success.
And all of this is backed by the institutional authority of NEAP, the National Educators Academy of the Philippines. Their inclusion in this framework emphasizes a really crucial point. The learning doesn't stop. A truly great school head uses these established domains and strands for continuous self-reflection. You're always refining your management mechanics, and you are always stoking the fire of your leadership.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to take with you today. Looking at all the definitions, those interlocking puzzle pieces, and the professional standards we've just unpacked, how will you blend your fire for leadership with the mechanics of management to completely transform your school tomorrow? Take a look at your schedule for this week. Which tasks need a little bit more management rigor, and which ones desperately need your leadership fire? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the explainer. Keep learning, keep leading, and I will see you next time.